Welcome back, detective. You found your quiet corner of the night, where the storm hums against the glass and stories of power fade into whispers. Tonight's case file isn't about thieves in alleys or strangers in the dark. It's about the other side of power, the world of glass towers and boardrooms, where fortunes are built in daylight and undone in silence. Before we begin, tell me, where are you watching from tonight? Are you curled beneath blankets, half asleep somewhere across the sea, on a late train, or just drifting between thoughts? Leave a comment. I love seeing our little night watchers scattered across the world, like quiet stars. If these stories bring you calm, tap the like button. It helps this small channel reach other dreamers who wander through the dark. And subscribe, so you never drift alone through the storm. Tonight, we open the files of 5 leaders, men who once stood at the top of their empires and then watched the ground give way beneath them. Some vanished into luxury, some fell into scandal, some were hunted, and one became a victim of the world he built. Power doesn't vanish, it fades, and in that fading, we find the echo of every ambition. This is Midnight Evidence, true crime told softly, for those who wander and for those who dream. Now, take a deep breath, let the night settle, and we'll begin with a man who walked out of Wall Street and never came back. There's a quiet kind of disappearance that doesn't happen in the night. No car chase, no broken door, no missing person flyer. It happens on paper, in the ledgers, the signatures, the court summons that go unanswered. Tomo Razmilovic was the kind of executive who seemed untouchable. Born in Sweden, educated, confident, he became CEO of Symbol Technologies, a company known for the scanners that read barcodes in nearly every store across America. Under his leadership, profits soared, Wall Street applauded, shareholders smiled, until the numbers stopped making sense. In 2004, U.S. federal investigators alleged that Symbol's success wasn't built on sales, but on manipulation, a $200 million accounting fraud that stretched back years. Executives were accused of inflating profits, concealing losses, painting a picture of endless growth while the truth bled quietly beneath. When the indictments came, Razmilovic was gone. No press statement, no final interview, just a one-way flight to Sweden, the country of his birth, where extradition laws would protect him. He never returned. While others in the company served sentences, he built a quiet life by the Baltic coast. Neighbors described a polite man, reserved, living off the fragments of a vanished empire. From time to time, the U.S. Justice Department renews its request. Sweden declines. The files remain open. A man wanted for millions, living in plain sight, protected by geography and time. There are no photographs of him now, just an aging image from the early 2000s. A suit, a smile, the kind of confidence that doesn't expect to fade. Somewhere in a coastal town, perhaps he still wakes before dawn, checks the news, and wonders if the list still bears his name. Power, after all, doesn't vanish in a crash. Sometimes it just drifts quietly offshore. In the digital age, power doesn't always come from armies or oil fields. Sometimes it comes from information, from the quiet architecture of messages sent and unseen. Pavel Durov, the founder and CEO of Telegram Messenger, built one of the largest communication platforms on Earth. A system designed to be free, encrypted, unreachable. A fortress of privacy in a world that trades in surveillance. Born in Russia, raised on code and philosophy, Durov was once called the Zuckerberg of St. Petersburg. But where others sought profit, he sought autonomy. When he refused to hand over user data to Russian authorities in 2014, he was forced to sell his first company, VKontakte, and left the country with little more than a suitcase and his principles. He built Telegram in exile, a company without borders, headquartered everywhere and nowhere, his servers scattered across continents, his citizenship changing as often as his addresses. Then, in August 2024, something changed. As Telegram's reach exploded, nearly 1 billion users, the French authorities detained Durov while he visited Paris. They accused the platform of harboring illegal content, fraud, extremism, and exploitation, protected by its promise of privacy. For years, governments had demanded cooperation. Now one finally acted. He was charged, briefly held, and then released under judicial supervision. The case remains open, a question of where freedom ends and responsibility begins. Since then, Durov has said little. His last public words were measured. Privacy is not a crime. The man who once defied nations now moves quietly between them. No country claims him. No office defines him. His creation continues. A silent network pulsing in the dark, billions of messages carried by invisible hands. Perhaps that's the new shape of disappearance. Not running, not hiding, just staying online, forever out of reach. Every era has its own empire. For the Romans, it was land. For the industrialists, steel. For us, it was data and currency built out of code. Changpeng Zhao, known to the world as CZ, was the quiet emperor of that new empire, the founder and CEO of Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange. A platform so vast that billions of dollars in digital coins pass through it every single day. Born in China, raised in Canada, Zhao began as a coder, working at Bloomberg, then Wall Street. In 2017, he built Binance, and in less than a year, it became a kingdom without borders. No single government could touch it. No central bank could slow it. For millions of people, it was liberation. For regulators, it was chaos. By 2023, the US government had taken notice. Binance, they said, had allowed billions in illegal transactions, failed to report suspicious activity, and looked away when digital coins funded crimes across borders. The Justice Department filed charges. Zhao pleaded guilty to violations of anti-money laundering laws. In court, he stood calm, his empire still humming quietly in the background. He agreed to step down as CEO, to pay a $50 million fine, and accept 4 months in prison. Some said it was symbolic. Others said it was the end of an age, the moment when the digital world finally met the real one. He walked into custody in 2024, served his time, and then, like so many stories in this file, he slipped away from the headlines. Where is he now? Some say in Dubai, others in Singapore, rebuilding quietly, waiting for the next chapter of code. What remains certain is that no empire, digital or otherwise, lasts forever without accountability, and that sometimes the fall of a titan doesn't echo with noise, but with silence. Some stories aren't about those who vanish from justice, but about those taken by it, not the fugitive, but the fallen. Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, was a name most people never spoke aloud until the morning news broke in December 2024. A headline too sharp for a winter morning: healthcare giant's CEO shot dead on the street of New York City. The details, even now, are spare. No grand scene, no public unraveling. Just a quiet end to a man who sat at the top of one of the largest health companies in the world. An organization whose reach touched millions of lives, from rural clinics to billion-dollar contracts. Investigators described the case as suspicious. No forced entry, no clear motive. Neighbors heard nothing except the faint hum of the city below. What happened behind that closed door remains the subject of whispers, rumors of stress, pressure, corporate battles, and the private toll of power carried too long. United Healthcare called it a tragic loss. His colleagues spoke of integrity, dedication, calm. But the investigation hasn't faded. Months later, detectives still review footage, phone calls, and timelines. No one has been charged, and the case, for now, remains open. It's strange how power leaves behind no protection, how titles, security, and fortune can't keep the night from knocking. Brian Thompson's death didn't close a file. it opened a new one that asks, what price does leadership extract in silence? Perhaps he knew the weight of a system too vast for any one person to steer. Perhaps he carried it alone until it carried him. All that's certain is that his story became one more entry in the quiet ledger of unanswered endings. Every empire has a look, a sound, a scent of power wrapped in perfection. For Mike Jeffries, former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, that empire was built on scent and symmetry. Stores that smelled of cologne and youth, posters filled with sunlight and skin. He took over the brand in the 1990s, and for a time, he was unstoppable. Abercrombie wasn't just clothing, it was an aesthetic, a promise of belonging sold through music and shadows. But beneath the soft lighting and sculpted image was a system that critics said thrived on exclusion and control. By 2014, Jeffries stepped down. After years of controversy about hiring practices, lawsuits, and the weight of a changing world that no longer worshipped his vision, he vanished into privacy, a recluse in luxury, rarely seen, never heard. Then, in 2024, the past returned to knock. A British documentary accused him of running a network that preyed on young men through modeling promises and manipulation. Months later, a US federal indictment followed, alleging human trafficking, coercion, and crimes stretching across years and continents. Jeffries denied wrongdoing, but the investigation widened. Witnesses came forward. The glossy empire, long faded from malls, was now recast in shadow. Those who once saw him as the architect of cool now saw a man encircled by silence, a world of lawyers, archives, and whispers behind closed doors. He has yet to face trial, his case one of the most disturbing intersections of power and privilege in modern corporate history. If the allegations are true, the empire he built from beauty was, all along, a house of glass and velvet, elegant, fragile, and lined with secrets. And if they're not, then history will remember something else. That image itself can become a kind of prison, and that the pursuit of perfection often hides the deepest flaws. Power has many voices. Some roar from podiums, others whisper from behind glass doors and tinted windows, but all of them fade, eventually, into the same silence that greets every story we tell here. Tonight, we've wandered through 5 rooms of the same mansion. Tomo Razmilovic, the man who walked away from Wall Street's applause and vanished among the birch trees of Sweden. Pavel Durov, who built a network of voices so vast that even governments strained to hear them. Changpeng Zhao, who ruled a kingdom of invisible coins until the law finally found his shadow. Brian Thompson, who carried the weight of a company too large for one heart to bear. And Mike Jeffries, who taught the world how beauty sells, and then faced the reckoning of what that lesson cost. 5 lives. 5 very different mirrors reflecting the same truth, that power never truly disappears, it just changes form. Sometimes it hides in exile, sometimes in silence, and sometimes it simply stops answering the door. When we speak of CEOs and founders, we imagine certainty, the voice that ends every meeting, the hand that signs every line. But beneath every empire lies a heartbeat, and beneath that heartbeat, the same frailty we all share. If there's a lesson in these stories, perhaps it's this: that ambition is a kind of light. It can build cities or blind us completely. So as the rain fades against your window tonight, take one slow breath. Let the echoes of boardrooms and headlines dissolve into something quieter. Somewhere out there, the next name is being written, the next empire built. But for now, we can simply listen to the sound of what remains. You've been listening to Midnight Evidence, true crime told softly, for those who wander and for those who dream. Sleep well, detective. The case will keep until morning.